Ryan's Got a Game. I am Ryan, and I got a game today called Munchkin Panic. Munchkin Panic is a 1 to 6 player, semi-cooperative game by Fireside Games, based off of Castle Panic by Justin D. Witt, and set in the world of Munchkin, created by Steve Jackson. If you like Castle Panic or Munchkin, this game is definitely for you. Let's check it out, and I'll show you how to slay monsters, defend the castle, and backstab just enough to get the loot and become the Master Munchkin. Now we'll take a look at the board. The board is divided into 3 parts: blue, red, and green. You'll also notice that the board is divided into 4 rings: forest, archer, knight, and swordsman rings. I'll talk about those later. You'll also notice that there's a castle that has walls and towers. The whole point of the game is to keep the castle standing while defeating all of the monsters. Continue setup. You draw monsters out of this bag. You also roll the die to find the corresponding number the monster goes in. Please note that the highest number goes towards the castle. That is the maximum hit points the monster has. And at the beginning of the game, each monster goes in the archer ring. Now you deal the cards. You deal the appropriate amount of castle cards, and you also deal the appropriate amount of treasure cards. Once the cards are dealt, you are ready to begin. I have a blue archer, a red knight, a green swordsman, a blue hero, a fortified wall, and a flask of glue. On your turn, you will use these cards to damage monsters in your ring. Blue archer would hit Mr. Bones. The first part on your turn, you discard 1 card, or you may not, and then draw up to the appropriate number of cards. Then you give to charity by, if you have too many treasure cards, you give it to the player who has the lowest amount of points. If you are the player with the lowest amount of points, then you put it into the treasure discard pile. You play your cards. You negotiate to have other people help you and get trophies by killing monsters. Then you add your treasure from last turn to your hand. You move the monsters, then you place more monsters. Let me show you how this works. In my hand, I have a blue archer. I can play that to hit Mr. Bones. So when I play it, it goes into the discard pile off the board. And Mr. Bones loses 1 health point. Here, I could negotiate and give one of my cards to the next player, and they could give me another blue archer or a blue hero to hit Mr. Bones again and kill him. Now, if you negotiate, your friend might want the trophy, the points, or the treasure. Yellow circles mean the amount of treasure cards that you draw when you kill the monster. Now it's time to move the monsters. You move the monsters forward 1 ring. Then, depending on the number of players, you draw more monsters. Let's say Bigfoot. Please notice that now they're in the forest ring. So now, every single monster you draw from the bag goes into the forest ring. As play continues, monsters continue getting pushed forward until they get stopped by a wall, or tower. As the plutonium dragon hits the wall for his third turn on the board, he will hit the wall will break, get sent off to the side, and the plutonium dragon will lose a health point. Same thing happens when knocking down towers. The plutonium dragon, on his next turn, will hit the tower, lose another health point, break down the tower. Once they're inside of the walls and towers, they go into a rotating fashion, knocking down towers in succession. Now, a monster may have one hit point left when it gets to a wall or a tower. You could let it hit the wall, breaking down the wall, but killing itself. Nobody will get the trophy or the treasure. There are some special cards that affect the game. The Flask of Blue stops any monster from moving for a turn. The Fortify Wall card makes it so you have these Fortify Wall tokens. Whenever you play that card, you take the Fortify, you put it, the fortification, you put it onto the wall, and put it down. If Bigfoot was over here, and he was in the swordsman ring, and then he was moving, he would hit the fortification, break it, be sent off the board, and then he will lose his health point. Next turn, he will break this down. Also, in the back, there are curses. Huge Rock is a curse. The Huge Rock goes through, smashing everything in its way, including monsters, until it hits a wall or a tower. Then you remove it from the board. There are other curses, like all monsters move clockwise, all monsters in one area move forward one, place one more monster. When you draw a curse, you continue drawing until you get the total amount of monsters you need for the amount of players. The game ends when the last tower is destroyed, or when every single monster has been defeated. As long as one tower is standing, the players win. If the players win, to determine the winner of the players, you take the highest number of each trophy and add them together. In this case, you would have 6, 10, 12 points at the end of the game. If anybody else had more points than them, they would win. If the number of points is a tie, then the amount of monsters, the person who has the most amount of monsters wins. If that's a tie, then the winner's determined by a thumb war. I've got my dad here for a parent's opinion. So Dad, what do you think about Munchkin Panic?
I love the Munchkin Panic. I like the artwork, the cards from Munchkin that they reused. They're just hilarious.
The very cartoony artwork. I really like that.
Yeah, the artwork is good. Playing with kids, it is a co-op game, so you can definitely be nice if you're playing with younger kids. My 7-year-old hasn't played it yet, but I'm sure she could. And you can definitely not stab in the back as much if you're playing together.
But you could.
You could. And if you want to play even more Munchkin, there's a mini expansion that comes in the box.
Little characters that you can be from the other Munchkin games?
Yeah, you can be a dwarf or a halfling, and they give you different powers depending on which character class you have.
I really like how they took the Castle Panic monster piece, but then put the Munchkin monsters on it.
Yeah, a lot of those characters are really funny. Like the bad guys are the lawyers or the insurance salesmen. Those ones always make me laugh.
Plutonium Dragon as the usual ones.
Yep.
And then the classic cards, like the Boots of Butt Kicking.
Yeah, those are good. The Rapier of Unfairness.
Yes, from the Munchkin games.
Yeah. I like the bag that it comes with. It comes with a nice little bag. It's printed on there, Munchkin Panic.
The dice with the little Munchkin head on it.
Yes, the die is somewhat translucent, and it has the Munchkin icon on there for a 1. So that's a plus for the components of Munchkin Panic.
What about the strategy?
So there's definitely a lot of strategy. I think first and foremost is you need to work together. You have to defeat the monsters before they come in and take over the castle. So I think that's strategy number one. If you're playing with little kids, I think that should really be your only strategy. But if you're playing with older kids or other adults, then definitely there's a little bit more strategy involved as to when to help and how much to help.
And when to backstab and how much to backstab.
And negotiating trophies is also a big thing. If you don't want to help, or if you do want to help, you're going to need to get something in return.
Yeah.
So
Usually
pack full of
game,
strategy.
like at the end of the game, you'd like to have trophies, not treasure.
At the end of the day, that's who wins, right? Whoever has the most trophies.
Yeah.
But early on, treasure is good because they are modifiers. They +1 to a lot of the attacks, and so early on, the treasures are good.
And then also in the more Munchkin mini expansion, you have monster enhancers.
Yes, so you can, just like you can in Munchkin, you can tack on more hit points to monsters when your friends are trying to attack them. You can do the same thing in Munchkin Panic. You can make a monster increase in difficulty when your buddy is trying to defeat him, if you want to do that. So
I always have fun backstabbing my friends.
I know, you do like that, don't you?
Mm-hmm. And family. So what do you think of overall?
So overall, it's a great game. Definitely you can play with families. There's a lot of humor there for adults that make it a little more bearable. I was a fan of Castle Panic, and I'm a fan of Munchkin, so putting them together, it was a sure buy for me.
Yeah, I was pretty excited when you bought that. Thank you for watching Brian's Got Game. Please like us on our Facebook page. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please send us a tweet on Twitter at Brian's Got Game. I'm Brian. This is my dad. See you next time.